New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
And hello again, dear ones. Dr. Robert with you here on a Friday evening. It's 7:30 on the Mountain Time Zone. That means it's time for Ask Me Anything. This happens on the last Friday of each month, and it's all in part and thanks to our dear friends over at the Center for Spiritual Living Boulder Valley in Boulder Valley, Colorado, Lafayette, Colorado. If you're in the Boulder Valley region, come check us out on a Sunday. cslbouldervalley.org. Do a Zoom broadcast on the first and the third Sunday of every month. In person on the second and fourth Sunday of every month. It's been a long day, folks. You'll hear about that. So, Sunday. Join us at the Center for Spiritual Living Boulder Valley. Tonight, it's Ask Me Anything, which means your participation is required just by tuning in here. Your participation is required because we need, I don't need, but I would really love it if you would drop a comment or a question in the comment box and give me something to chat about. So you can ask me anything. Yes, anything. Just drop your comment in the comment box and we'll get you those answers for you. And I know one of the as we get into this here today, as I mentioned, I'm a little frazzled. I had an 8-hour drive today from Gallup, New Mexico. I woke up in Gallup, New Mexico, and that might be some people's very first question. Robert, what were you doing in Gallup, New Mexico? And what's going on? And it isn't so much Gallup, New Mexico, as it was that I was in Mesa, Arizona this past week for the packing, for the final packing of the International New Thought Alliance Addington Archives and Research Center. And for this archive has been located in Mesa, Arizona its entire life. And it's really neat. You'll see when we release the documentary how much great content, how much real history has been preserved here. And this was the final packing. We put it all on a truck. Had a bunch of very strong men that we paid very good money to put it all on a truck. And that truck is somewhere between Mesa, Arizona and Unity Village. And it'll be in Unity Village next week, and we'll be unpacking it unpacking it next week over at Unity Village. All right, a question. If Ernest Holmes and Jesus met for coffee, what would they talk about first? Well, heck if I know. I guess it would depend. I guess it would depend a little bit on who asked the first question. I think it's a good question, Catherine. Thank you. If Ernest Holmes and Jesus met for coffee, what would they talk about first? It's a good question because while neither set out to, from my perspective at least, neither of them set out to be a public figure they both ended up being public figures. So in that regard, perhaps that would be one of their first conversations, is a chance to chat and talk and I've stumped yourself on that one too, didn't you? Yes, exactly. I could throw that question back at you. But the truth, well, the thing that jumped into my mind first is, I think they would talk about what kind of coffee they wanted. And, it's an interesting thing about our society now is was going for coffee a thing in the late 1800s, early 1900s through the middle of the 20th century? Or is that just a thing that's happened now in the last 25, 30, 40, 50 years, going out for coffee? So perhaps it would be more like if they sat down and shared some hummus. I'm not sure. And so maybe it wasn't coffee. And yeah, maybe neither of them meant to really start a church. So that could be a very good conversation, is look what happens when you let people run with your ideas. All I said was treat people like your neighbor. I mean, all I said was love people. They both said so much more than that. So, all right, there's a joke in here somewhere. Let's find it. That just struck me. So they had one might have been one of those fancy Turkish coffees, but Jamie Lula's got a song that he sings. He says that there's a song in this house somewhere. I'm gonna find it. And he talks about the story about how when he visits someone's home, and he often can tell that there's a song that wants to be created. And there's a song in this house somewhere, and I'm gonna find it. Well, there's a joke in this question somewhere, and we're gonna find it. And we got a whole nother 20 and 20 plus minutes to find what the joke is. So Jesus and Ernest Holmes walk into a coffee bar. There we go. That's where it starts. And we'll see where it takes us throughout the night. So, Catherine, glad you're with us. Thank you for being our most loyal viewer and of this program. I so appreciate that you share your concept, share some ideas and questions with us. And and I saw your other prompt here. Maybe we should talk about the SOM archives in Unity Village. And that's the thing. I was not at Unity Village or the Science of Mind archives this week. That's coming in the future, and we're going to be talking about that a bit as we go here in the next few weeks as well. That so what's been happening? Here's kind of the bigger story, if you will. The Unity archives that chronicled Charles and Myrtle Fillmore's work and other Unity ministers and leaders and what's happened with the Unity movement. All of that has always been at Unity Village. The archives have always been there. Well, just about a year ago, the Science of Mind archives, which were located, originally had started in Southern California, in the LA area, which is appropriate. That's where for the most part, Ernest's works were recorded and kept. So most of his stuff, but along the way, a lot of other people too. And those had been moved from a number of smaller locations and consolidated into a location in Genesee, Colorado, here at the CSL home office, which CSL is in the process of selling that building. And so we've known for a couple years now that this was coming and that this would happen at some point. And just about a year ago, those archives moved to Unity Village, and we've had the chance to visit there a few times now. It's a beautiful space. They've done a great job with sharing and displaying the Ernest Holmes work and making the library accessible for research and other things and for other study. And that archive is different than the one I visited this past week, which again is the Jack Addington Archive and Research Center. Now, Jack was a prolific minister around in the Phoenix Inland Valley and in the Phoenix region and in Arizona and around the southwest. From our estimations, the Addington Archive, which I visited this week, is about half the size, perhaps, maybe a little bit more than half of what is the Science of Mind Archives. At least as far as when you look at how many tractor trailers it takes to move them. So now, if we look at it, and we're gonna refer to the Addington Archives also in the vein of it's been a part of the International New Thought Alliance. The International New Thought Alliance predates the Addington Archives, and the International New Thought Alliance has been instrumental in maintaining and expanding and caretaking the Addington Archives over many, many years now. And so to have, so not specifically quote the Divine Science Archive. Now, remember, and for everybody watching this later as a history lesson, when we talk about the New Thought movement, it really is divine science, religious science, and unity. Divine science, religious science, and unity. The origins of divine science are spring up in a couple of places. Denver, Colorado is actually one of them, and Pueblo, Colorado. However, those would be considered the traditional three branches or three legs of a stool that is the New Thought movement. Now, over time, those three branches had, sub-branches and sprouts. And those include things like the Agape International Center, International Spiritual Center, Hillside Church, the Universal Foundation for Better Living, Crystal Sunshine Cathedral with Bishop Durrell down in Florida, AGNT, INTA, ANTN, or sorry, not INTA, but ANTN, New Thought Media Network. All of these are branches of one of those three primary philosophies. So what we find in the Addington Archives is a bit more, it would appear from at least my look at it, a bit more of divine science type material, more from divine science ministers, many of which I had no clue existed or the importance that they've contributed, and in some ways how we've witnessed human personality influence the movement of religious of New Thought. So we were there in Mesa to help with the packing, really to witness the packing and document it. We got lots of good video of people packing stuff and document this. We're creating a documentary out of the whole thing. The truck is, again, somewhere between Mesa. I believe the driver was taking the weekend off. It's going to start driving on Monday. So it should get to Kansas City, to Lee Summit, to Unity Village on Wednesday. And I'll be over there for that to help do the video and help our project manager to offload that vehicle. once it gets there. That'll be a much quicker trip. And we hope to have, the intention is to have the Addington archives up and ready for visitors, for public visits, no later than the 23rd, 24th of April, which is, yes, this is getting to be a long story, huh? Which is the weekend, 25th, is the weekend by which the Science of Mind archives are going to celebrate their grand opening over in Unity Village. So that event is 24th, 5th, and 6th, and 7th. There's a Thursday evening event and Friday during the day, Friday evening gala, Saturday workshops and community town hall. Sunday, we're all going to go to church together, and there's a big New Thought party happening on Unity Village that weekend. And what I also happen to know is that's the weekend when they turn on the fountains. So in the winter, they turn off all the fountains because of freezing and all that. So the fountains go dry after a certain point, and that's the weekend where they're going to turn the fountains get turned back on. So it's going to be a really fun kind of family type gathering, family type event, but people from various traditions. Now this one is skewed heavily towards the Science of Mind tradition. It is the Science of Mind archives. But we know of a number of people from other organizations that are going to be there as well. Dr. Tim Stewart, president of the International New Thought Alliance, who I spent time with this week, will be there to help celebrate that. So there's a lot of this intermingling and interweaving of community, of leadership, of these three branches of New Thought that what I've been witnessing over the last few years is a concerted effort to bring everybody together under the same tent, to have some conversations and some fun and some time together. And a lot of this goes back to the Parliament of World Religions, which was just an amazing opportunity for New Thought to see itself as a global influence, as a larger influence in the discussion, and as a larger presence at something like the Parliament, that I think led a lot of leaders to say, well, why can't we do this more often ourselves? Why do we need to have a big, huge conference? Oh, maybe we could do this in other ways. And what I know is there are so many places right now, small conversations, groups of 2 or 3 or 5 or 6 that are getting together and asking those questions that say, wow, how do we demonstrate a greater experience of oneness in the midst of what appears to be separation or division? And the answer keeps coming back. We have to model that at the organizational level. We have to model that combination of how these three strong philosophies work together. And we know that philosophically they've always worked together. They're all pretty much the same. Excuse me. They're all pretty much the same. And now we get to demonstrate that by recognizing each other's credentials and recognizing each other's education, and recognizing each other's shared experience that's gotten us to this point. And that is what I see happening with this coalescence, this coming together of these archives in one physical village, in one area. They're not all in the same building. They're in different buildings. They're in different spaces within different buildings, and this and that and the other thing. But the point is that they're all within walking distance of each other. How much great research is going to be done by future leaders and future students to really hone the New Thought message. Yes, Catherine. Catherine sharing, we do teach there's a golden thread, little typo there, but a golden thread running through all religions. If New Thought groups can't demonstrate that, who can? Exactly. And we've always said that. And we've always said, and the more scholarly of our leaders have been able to quote from, as it were, Bible and verse of the other leaders. And I've seen some great religious science ministers that know unity as well as most unity ministers, and we can flip that concept. And I've met so many great unity ministers that love and revere Ernest Holmes, and and maybe Catherine says maybe the golden threat was a Freudian slip. Catherine, you might be very, very right on that one. we are. What if we are the golden thread? What if New Thought is the golden thread of prosperity, the golden thread of oneness, of being together? Sure, let's do that. Why not? We'll see how it goes. So anyway, I find it really cool that one of the first places we are coming together and better demonstrating that oneness is through the archivists. There's been a New Thought archivists collaborative coalition. I don't know what they call themselves, but they've been meeting regularly for years, almost a decade now, of sharing information and sharing spiritual practice. And so again, when it was announced that Science of Mind Archives was moving to Unity Village, it was like a no-brainer. But of course, anywhere else, I would maybe have questioned, actually, other than perhaps a short move down the hill from up on Genesee to down into Denver, which would be appropriate. Denver, with the Althea, what is now the Althea Center, the very first Divine Science Church was here, or the very first. Pueblo was first, but Denver put it all on the map. And the hub that New Thought has always had, the anchor, or a root, a tree branch, a root that of New Thought has always been here in the Denver area. So, that would have been appropriate, but that still would have felt like a stopgap of bringing everybody home to Unity Village. I've heard people talk that we got to make sure Unity, that we don't become, that we keep each of the various branches fully alive. We're not trying to, oneness is not sameness. Oneness is not sameness. And so this isn't about bringing everything together under one organizational name or one organizational banner or one organizational bank account. It's not about any of that. It's about, I believe, we're making the New Thought truth more easily accessible, more easily verifiable, more easily demonstratable by creating a field of consciousness within the Unity grounds, within the Unity Village area. All right, and let's remember, Unity Village is not the Unity philosophy. It is the steward of that. And CSL is not the religious science philosophy. It is currently the steward of that. And there are so many wonderful, amazing, independent organizations that I refer to as independent New Thought that are teaching that wonderful blend of the three. a sprinkling of divine science and a sprinkling of religious science and a sprinkling of unity and a sprinkling of more contemporary things. And shout out to our buddy Bill, Reverend Dr. Bill Marcioni from New Thought, Philadelphia. He's got a show here on Monday mornings, Practical Prayer Podcast, and his church shares their community message with us on Sundays. It's part of the all-day Sunday programming, and he is very specifically working to blend all of it through his community. But we want to make sure. Oh, Shay, you haven't missed anything, girl. We're just getting warmed up. He wants to be a place where you can experience all of it. Does not mean that we don't need places where it is more Holmes New Thought versus Fillmorian New Thought versus a more contemporary, and let's get rid of the verses, or in complement with a more contemporary liberation type theology and a spiritual activism. What I see, and we'll catch Shay up on the conversation. Shay, we're just talking about the fact that all these different archives are ending up in the same location, Unity Village. So, and I could easily go back and babble on about it for another half hour or so, but I want to take it somewhere else, actually. So, for me, a big part of it is that bridges are being built. Bridges are being built. And I don't know if you've ever watched a big bridge being built. It doesn't happen overnight. This bridges not only take a while, but they take a lot of people to build. And some have to have the vision of what the bridge is going to look like across the skyline. And some are going to have the fine detail to make sure that when you start building from one side and start building from the other, that they actually meet up in the middle. Ever seen that? There's some great examples of that, where bridge builders were off, and as they built from each side, they didn't meet in the middle. They were off by a lot. So as bridge builders, we need those that are keeping the high watch, taking the high vision. We need those that can keep the details straight and make sure that we start on the right parameter, the right steps to meet in the middle, to be able to bring together. But ultimately, it looks like it's one, but it's really numerous bridges that come together. And Catherine, that is exactly right. And that's exactly it. There is room under the New Thought umbrella for all the different flavors. And that's truthfully why we named this ministry New Thought Media Network, and not Science of Mind Media Network. And we named it the New Thought Radio Station, not the Science of Mind Radio. We didn't name it the Ernest Holmes Station, or the Ernest Holmes Channel. And so New Thought Media Network was in the formation of all this, we were very thoughtful, very as much an epiphany as anything else. But when the name came, New Thought Media Network, we knew exactly. Laura and I knew exactly immediately. This is where it's moving. And And others are moving in that same direction. We can look at our friend Reverend Dr. Eamon Duffy and his ministry, New Thought Men's Community. Now, he also was very, very specific, and I didn't know it at the time, and he didn't know what I was doing at the time, and we both kind of were like, "Hey, what are we doing here?" And so it's a natural connection that he has a program here on the network. His ministry, the New Thought Men's Community, has a show here on the network because he's working in that same vein to welcome men of all of New Thought to be able to be together, to worship together. We say worship, to celebrate, to practice together. Catherine, would you please give me an example of differences? Surely it's not okay. On it, and sometimes, yes, it is. It is as simple as we believe in a 5-step treatment. Unity does not have, they don't have a 5-step treatment the way we do, or a 7-step treatment the way we do. That is actually unique to religious science. Now, the concept of prayer and how we go about that, while similar in the unity world, is not taught as a 5-step treatment. There is, and one of the things, from my perspective, that's always been, this is a great question, Catherine. One of the things that's always been true for me is what I've seen is that the unity communities I have visited and been involved with are predominantly more rooted in a practical Christianity. Some will say it that there's still a lot of God Bible and Jesus Bible and the God in unity. And I think that's an oversimplification of it, truthfully. So in some ways, unity is, from my perspective, a little bit more of the mysticism in it, where religious science took on the religion aspect and the scientific aspect. And from that scientific aspect, we need experimentation. We need a good hypothesis. We need a good experiment, and we need to be able to track the results. And that's what a 5-step treatment does. Truthfully, I can't find, I don't know anybody's ever found where Holmes sat down and said, okay, this is a 5-step treatment. And you do this, and you do this, and you do this. That isn't there. The 5 steps versus 7 steps or 6 steps or whatever is always been a teaching tool. We get stuck on the teaching tools sometimes. And they're good, don't get me wrong. They're great teaching tools to get us to a point, but after a certain point, it's about consciousness, not about, oh, you said a sentence that was more unifying than it should have been in this step, or you didn't release well enough, or you blended your unification with your realization and all that stuff. It doesn't, yeah. So sometimes it is that simple, Catherine. Culturally, we are different from the number of communities out there. Unity by far has a larger population, has more people over a wider range of locations over time than I would say science of mind or religious science has. Divine science has always been not a secretive organization or a secreted organization. It seems to me that divine science, as a branch of the philosophy, has always been a little more around personal deep transformation and study, and really wasn't worried about trying to go find more people or getting socially active or attracting new people into the room. They've always seemed to be a bit more about how deep can we go as individuals. Shay, Shay, it's a very valid question. Why can't we just call it all metaphysical? Because it is, but it isn't. And some of it is about the being on the physical plane. So there is a both there, both and there. I also think that metaphysical, for some reason, gets people have a tendency to check out. And if it's somebody like it that knows what they're talking about, if you say, hey, where do you get your metaphysics? They could tell you. But somebody that isn't, and you can say, wow, that's a new thought. That's a way of thinking about it that I hadn't seen. Or so yeah, we can, yeah. And I still believe there wants to be some better branding around what new thought truly is in the world. And that happens. Catherine's saying she, coming from a Catholic background, there are endless branches and flavors, endless ways of being Catholic. Yes. Endless ways of being a Christian. Yes. Endless ways of being New Thought. Yes. And I feel that in my 20 plus years, there are definitely things that work are more effective in my life, in my experience, that have been more effective. And so I continue to build upon what I have learned to be effective for me, and supporting people and finding what is effective for them. However, I'm not going to go too far astray of what's been effective for me. I hope that makes some sense. Joining together under one umbrella means restructuring it, means that people have to give up power. No one wants to do that, not even New Thought ministers. Yes. And I'm not talking about restructuring under one umbrella, truthfully. I don't think that's the way forward. As I said earlier, oneness is not sameness. I do think there is a way forward where all of the various organizations that are out there right now, and the ones that we don't know of yet, or that are still being formed in the mind of God and in the mind of a human somewhere, that there can be that agreement of, well, I used to say it this way: there is cooperation, there is collaboration, and there is co-creation. And if you think about it, there are times where we cooperate. I'll give you a little hand. I'll help you shovel your driveway. You help me shovel mine. I'll do this for you. You do that for me. We cooperate. But we're not really invested in each other's well-being or the end result. Cooperation is just there for the moment. Collaboration implies that we have some agreement that we're both working towards the same ends over more time, over greater experience. And I think that's where a lot of New Thought organizations are right now. We're in that collaboration stage, or we're in a collaboration consciousness. I want to see us get to co-creation, where where the people don't feel they're giving up power, because everybody has already recognized that it is not the power, that none of us have the power. We are conduits of the power. Where we're willing to not necessarily restructure, but reimagine how we can co-create together, how we can bring groups without there needing to be 3 from religious science and 3 from unity and 3 from divine science and 3 from agape and 3 from here and 3 from here, right? Without doing that kind of stuff. To be able to say, here is a cohort of learned individuals, perhaps ministers, perhaps practitioners, perhaps licensed unity teachers, perhaps just really good, smart business people that didn't make ministry their lifeline and are living these principles in the business world. Hey, now there's an idea for us. And we have cohorts that come together to look at how we're doing and how we can do better in this co-creative nature. So nobody wants to give up where they feel they've been creative. But there is a way. There is a way. I talk more and more about transformational leadership. And what that means for me, right? Not just visionary leadership, which I think has gotten a really bad rap because we call people like Jeff Bezos a visionary leader. He just saw a bigger form of capitalism. He didn't envision anything new. He just saw a different form of capitalism, and was in the right place at the right time to capitalize on a foundational shift in how society is going. I believe we're in the same place when it comes to spirituality. We are on that cusp. We're on that nexus of a massive shift in how people experience spirituality. And there are visionary leaders among us that are doing things that are going to far outlast us. But that's small potatoes compared to transformational leadership. And transformational leadership requires that all parties involved are transformed deeply, spiritually, in a conscious way, are transformed because of our interactions, because of the way we show up, because of our disagreements and the apparent divisions within thought. That is the transformation. Someone shared with me today, or not today, but recently, that they were in a conversation and it wasn't political, but there were ideological differences that would fall along political lines at this point. So the conversation wasn't political, and nobody was promoting a candidate or an ideology as much as they were coming to an understanding. And through that sharing, both of them walked away saying, wow, I see this person in a different light now, thanks to our conversation. That's transformation. That's transformation. Now, whether that is lasting transformation depends on each one of us. So, to me, transformational leadership means that in my leadership with people, I am transformed as much as they are. It is not me doing the transformation unto you. It is the divine transforming both of us so that we may step into greater experiences of leadership. Shay's asking to talk about the co-housing community. So I want to be really clear on that too. This is a vision. There's a new website I have out there, folks. I'll put it in the comments here. You're welcome to go look at it. And it is a very basic, there we go. A very, very basic, I'm going to put it in the, let's put it in a banner too, so you can see it there. A basic articulation of a vision. And I can't say I'm the first one to have it, because I know I'm not the first one to have this vision. I can't say I'm the first one to take action towards this vision, because I'm pretty sure others have taken action towards this vision in one way or another. But the vision is a physical location where a community comes together to live intentionally and to live according to the science, according to new thought, the new thought principles, according to new thought practices, where there is room in that community for to allow the space for the transformation to occur. Not to force a transformation, not to just, it's not about creating a giant business, or it's not about creating a city. It's about creating space for people to live according to new thought principles and practices that drive transformation. And in that regard, evolutionary transformation. The type of transformation that can change the world when practiced by enough folks. Check out newthoughtvillage.org if you get a chance sometime. It's a neat little website. And I also want to be very clear, it's not a project to be accomplished. It is a vision of an ideal. It is a vision of an idyllic community. It may never happen. It may never happen. I don't know. It may not happen in my lifetime. It may be something that happens down the road. My sense is it is something that is ready to happen, however. And so my position in it all is I can't be a roadblock to the evolution of human consciousness. It cannot be a roadblock about how this will happen. I cannot be trying to force it to happen my way. Shay, if you can show me a more inclusive model than New Thought, I'll look at it. But to me, it is New Thought has the capacity to be even more than trans-denominationalism. We don't even need That's part of it. Is breaking down the false belief in denominationalism within New Thought to begin with. So we're not going beyond transitioning from denominationalism. We're not playing that game at all. And I think New Thought is the philosophical model that has the capacity for it. I do not see, as of this time, any. Well, I shouldn't say it that way, because almost all of the major religions at this point, or world religions, have this capability. They're just not being practiced in that way, in a way that leads towards the transformation, not just transitioning or transforming getting a few too many transes in here. Monday, Trans Day of Visibility. Monday this week, come show up. Yes, Catherine. Let's say it that way. Do I mean the capacity of inclusion? Yes, but not sameness. Everything else I see wants you to give up everything you are to be everything they are, and I don't see it that way. So New Thought, at its core, at its best, at its purest, if you will, has that capacity for full inclusion to go but not to recreate it, not to go beyond it, but to live into the promise of full oneness as it has always been. I didn't see it. I don't know that I don't know that I do yet fully see the sorry, my computer's doing something that it wants me to do, and I'm just trying to tell it to do something different. There we go. Let's see if we can do that. Trying to get rid of this. Make sure I'm still with you, folks. It's an interesting evening here today. So, if we don't want to call it New Thought, it will be the evolution of what New Thought is becoming. A few friends of mine and I have played this have played a thought game over time of what could we call it? True thought? Next thought? I've yet to find a way that better describes it for me, truthfully. Living according to the New Thought principles and practices. And I'm open. So if we find something different, we find something different. If something more comes along, something more comes along. If there's a more inclusive way, we consider it, we follow it. Sometimes that which seems inclusive is not necessarily. Sometimes it's in the practice, and we might have to follow some ideas for a while to see how they play out, as it were. New Thought is a better name than religious science. Yeah. I think it creates a bit more of the mystery that'll stop people and make them say, what is that? Religious science scares people. But the truth is, it's the truth. Religious science is really what we are. We're describing it. We are religious scientists. We are here to create a hypothesis. What if there is a more inclusive way? And then go out and test that hypothesis. And if the evidence returns to us and says, nope, that ain't it, then we listen to that evidence. Again, this is again a little bit more of the religious science perspective of it. To go out and create the experiment, to codify things so that we can document, did they work, and if it didn't work, where might we see that what was hanging it up, and we create a new hypothesis, and we create a new experiment, and we try again, 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 until we get it right. And that's the big thing for me is never give up. Never give up. Keep moving, keep on keeping on. Keep moving forward in a way that that allows for the mystery to move us, to use us. As I think, if I look at my life, all of the great accomplishments happened not because I set out to make it happen, but that I was able to interpret a series of conditions and experiences and use those to propel me, inspire me forward. My career as a ski instructor, and later other snow sports, including a great introduction to handicapped and adaptive sports, and which led me to a deeper understanding of the human condition beyond my own. All these things I can look at, and we can go back and I tell you the stories, and we dig them apart, and we can come to realize that it's all been guided by a higher power than me. And when we look at the experiences of my life where I tried to force it, where I tried to make something happen, where I had a great idea and this is going to be the one, and this is going to, take care of all the money things and this and that, and they led to greater experience, but not necessarily what my personally soul's calling is. And I've talked with enough people and I've worked with enough people to know that that is true for so many. And now don't get me wrong. I'm not saying we don't have dreams. I'm not saying we don't have goals. I'm not saying we don't have visions. I'm not saying we don't, when we know it's right. It's a fine balance around this network between what I want to see and what the divine wants to see. And we say that literally with our broadcast programming. Not that there's any one show on our network that I wouldn't watch. Not that there's any one show I don't want to see on our network. I think everything we're doing is a wonderful mosaic, an amazing blend of various forms and various expressions of new thought. And there are shows on this network I would never have thought of. Would never have sat around in a brainstorming session, and just really don't like that imagery, in a brain thinking session, and come up with some of the shows that are on our network or the people that are doing them. But I didn't need to, because we have the container that says there is this thing called New Thought Media Network. And it's going to do the good work of sharing this message, of this philosophy of new thought. We have a vision. I have a vision of a new thought village. Colleagues have the vision of a new thought men's community, new thought women's group, new thought Philadelphia. Some of you have heard me say, and I want to get people to embrace and adopt that tag on new thought community. onto their names, so that we can continue in our own identity. Unity of Toledo, a New Thought community. Center for Spiritual Living Denver, a New Thought community. Independent Church of Better Living, of Spiritual Living, of spiritual inclusion in Fort Lauderdale, a New Thought community. Whatever it is, to provide us that identification, but also give us the creative freedom to bring forward in a more inclusive way space where everybody does get along. But I want to be clear, I don't get along with everybody. I'm not everybody's favorite cup of tea. I know that. There are those that 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 don't like me, even, maybe. Nah, not really. Are there? No, not me. And that's okay, because with enough, with a whole world full of New Thought communities, we don't have to all say the same thing or look the same way or chant the same chant. We can express this have a new thought about spiritual community, have a new thought about virtual community, have a new thought about a physical community. Right? And Shay, I know you're with us, and I know you have your vision and your version of what that community looks like. And I say, amen, hallelujah. And so it is. Do it. Each one of us on this will have a different perspective and a different vision, and that's okay, because we can't all live in the same geographic area. We can't all move to Colorado. They tried that. It didn't work. People are leaving now. We can't all be we can't, we're not all going to thrive in an artist colony. We're not all going to thrive in a writer's colony. We're not all going to, but we can all thrive, I believe, in a New Thought community. I've been Catherine share. Let's have a new thought. Yes, been using that for a little while now, Catherine. In various ways in different shows. And it's kind of becoming a theme of, let's have a new thought around politics. Let's have a new thought around human rights. Let's have a new thought around, well, even just the fact that people are. We didn't have the issue that we have today when it comes to transgender rights and visibility 30 years ago, because human evolution and consciousness wasn't ready for the conversation. But now we are. And how do I know we're ready? Because the conversation is upon us, whether we like it or not. That conversation is upon us. I personally am of the flavor that says, use whatever bathroom you want to use, just please wash your hands. Let's have a new thought about public bathrooms. Yeah, you go to Europe, there's a whole different attitude and different culture around the need, the human need for elimination in public space. And so let's have a new thought on how we feed kids at school. I'm all for a new thought on how we do education. I don't personally believe that tearing everything to the ground without really looking at it is a good idea. Because sometimes when you tear everything to the ground, you let the asbestos loose, which is not a good idea. But let's have a new thought on how we do education. And we can start with our churches if we don't want to start with the country. That's okay. Let's have a new thought about what we bring to the potluck. Let's have a new thought about how we show up on a Sunday morning or on a Wednesday evening or to a midweek class. Let's have a new thought about inviting people to share in our experience. Let's have a new thought about how to share our experience with others, with other communities and other faiths, that isn't based in division or recruitment or conversion, but is based on getting along, learning to get along. To me, it feels like these are the natural conclusions to a deep study of this philosophy over the last 20 years. And it's not over, because it continues. Because every time I turn around, I'm introduced to someone that's within the New Thought field that perceives it and teaches the philosophy a little bit differently. Anybody know the name Marie Forleo? One or two of you on this program might know the name. I first heard of her name many years back now. And at that time I heard a minister use her in the exact same example I'm going to use her. I don't know if she is aware of how New Thought she is, but she's pure New Thought. And she's wrapped in the skin of an incredible business coach. And an incredible business coach that has gone beyond just coaching executives and has gone beyond just trying to make her own money and gone beyond just trying to pad her bank account, but has gone to that place of true, I believe, community service to a greater vision. Name is Marie Forleo. I'll put it in a whoops. Put it in the comments there. I gave a little slash, but there you go. And she is teaching New Thought without ever using the words, and in a sector where many, where I know so many practitioners say, why not me? Why not me? I'm not going to try to answer that question. But what I know is that is available for all of us in whatever it may be, whether it's building a tiny home community, whether it's feeding the unhoused, whether it is working with Big Brothers Big Sisters. I heard that story last week. Big Brothers Big Sisters opened their first outlet, their first chapter in New Orleans in the last 20 years. Their last chapter in New Orleans closed with Katrina, and they have been unable to open a new chapter of Big Brothers Big Sisters in New Orleans for the last 20 years, but they just did that. That's somebody's vision. That's somebody taking a project, an outline, having a passion for mentoring young individuals, at-risk youth, and made it happen. There's nothing that can stand between you and a righteous vision. A vision that supports people, that puts people over profits. There's one of my other big ones lately. It's one of the ways I have just come to judge projects and whether I want to be involved in things, and what is the consciousness around people and profits. And if the profit is more important than the people, I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to be a part of it. Not mine to go in and try to fix. But if something is in my realm and it's obvious that they're putting people above profits, putting people in front of the profits, I'm all in. It doesn't mean we don't make a profit. Doesn't mean that, nonprofit does not mean financially destitute. Nonprofit simply means that the profits do not benefit the primary actors, meaning the profit is not there to simply benefit me. Yes, I get paid. Yes, we turn the profits back into the organization, into doing more, into doing better, into serving those, into giving more. The more money we make in this organization, the more donations people give this organization, the more we're able to donate back out to other artists, to other creators, to those looking to make a difference. People first, then money, then things. Yes, Shay. So, Catherine, yes, nonprofit to some extent means you're supported by donors. And what I'm saying is it's bigger. It doesn't mean that we have to just get by. Too many nonprofits are just getting by. There is nothing that stops a nonprofit from being financially successful, and nothing that stops a nonprofit from being financially abundant and prosperous, other than the consciousness of the people before profits. But you can have pure book sales and other things where you have traditional commerce within a nonprofit. A specific portion of most nonprofits do have requirements as to how much comes in through donors and how much comes in through investments or comes in through other means. But all those things are can be balanced. You can balance all those things. That's just setting in the intention. Ultimately, I believe it's time for a new thought on how we regulate nonprofits. And I think it's time for a new thought on how we verify or rank or support nonprofits. How we gauge the level of work versus executive salaries. There are plenty of we could go down that rabbit hole all night long. Places where executives are making exorbitant salaries, even in the nonprofit world, compared to the frontline volunteer, and taking money away from the mission. The money still has to be there for the mission. So, it's time for a new thought there too. So we're at that point where I really believe where, well, we've almost run out of time for tonight, that's for sure. Number two, we're at that point, I believe, where more and more people are awakening to a greater truth of how we come together as one, not the same, but in an attitude and a consciousness of inclusion, so that everyone has the capability, the opportunity, the resources, the connections, the consciousness to bring new thought to greater light in the world, to greater activity in the world. I have yet to see any project that has been true to New Thought that didn't make some impact for good? Notice I didn't say failed, because I've seen some fail. I've seen some really good ideas not make it because of funding, because of volunteers, because of leadership, because of organization. We see organizations come and go all the time. Doesn't mean they didn't do good work. Doesn't mean they didn't make an impact at some point. Doesn't mean that they didn't create an inspiration that'll ripple across all of time and space forever and ever, and change and shift the reality of human experience on the planet. We're doing that all the time. You're doing it. I'm doing it. The guy down the road's doing it. Let's make that shift, well, conscious. Why let people with the lowest consciousness control the money? Why not let people with a higher consciousness help everyone else figure out how everybody can get their share of the money? We tend to celebrate the greed and the individuals that hoard, rather than celebrate and promote those that are doing the best work in the world, putting houses over people's heads, putting food in people's bellies. And all the other things, giving people shelter, a safe space when things are messed up in their lives, giving the addict the space to get clean, giving the entrepreneur the space to get creative, giving an artist the space to create the beauty, to create the reminders, to create it all. If we want to talk about intentional community, which I think we do, and I think there's more and more people talking about it all the time, I think it's about creating space. And in that space, it cannot be an absolute total free-for-all. And it can't be the commune experiences and experiments of the 60s. And it can't be the same as the intentional community experiments of the 90s and of the turn of the century and of 20 years ago. I believe we have an opportunity to have a new thought about communal living, about co-housing, about sustenance living, about not needing 2,000 square feet for two people, about not living within our means, but living so that the means fulfill the vision. See, there's always enough of everything. There's enough money, there's enough resources, there's enough food. We just get to decide where we channel it. You're right, Catherine, we've had a lot of experiences with community living as a society. And many that have worked and many that haven't. Some that seemed to be working until authorities decided they weren't and took them out. But that's another story. It's called Ask Me Anything. It's sponsored by the new Center for Spiritual Living Boulder Valley. I encourage you to check us out. CSL BV for short. There it is. There. Anyway, take that one down. Leave that one up. CSL Boulder Valley. Spell it out. CSLBoulderValley.org. Check us out. Sign up for the newsletter. Get informed about things that we're doing. Be with us on a Sunday. Check out our YouTube and my most recent talks on YouTube, as well as some of our guests on our YouTube channel. Just head on over to YouTube. Search out Center for Spiritual Living Boulder Valley. No, Catherine, not referring to Waco specifically. There was I was trying to the movement, and I'm trying to remember what it was in Philadelphia. And the Philadelphia police ended up burning a couple of city blocks of people's homes because they didn't believe in the religious life, in a communal life that some people were living together. Turns out the people were doing nothing wrong, and the cops did everything wrong. I'll have to look up the reference. It was in Philadelphia in late 70s, early 80s, maybe, I think is when it was. So there's a new way, folks. There's a new opportunity. We're having a new thought about how to do these things, about what it would look like, what a governance model would look like in an intentional community, what the ownership model would have to look like, how resources are distributed and shared. It's not just a free-for-all, but there is a new vision emerging. And I believe there are people beyond the traditional, what we define New Thought world, that are seeing that vision as well and are looking for people just like us to support them in their vision as they support us in our vision. It's a co-creative society. We learn to collaborate. Once we've learned to collaborate, we can co-create. And so it is. So Friday night, I want to thank you for being here. I want to thank my beloved dear Lara for doing prayers tonight while we were all sitting here chatting. Those are already in the archives, so you can head on over to YouTube and catch the evening prayers for tonight if you want when we're done here. I want to thank everybody that's a part of New Thought Media Network. I want to thank everybody that's a part of the New Thought movement. No matter which branch of the family tree you've come from, and no matter which branch you're hanging out with now, together we are New Thought, and I think that's an exciting thing. I think it's an exciting time to be here on the planet, and I look forward to what's coming next. I look forward to sharing it with all of you. So thank you for being with us. That's all I've got. I'm done. I'm out of here. Have a good evening. Come back and see us again tomorrow morning. Science, Mind, and Spirit Conversation Series is at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning. I'll be sharing on that program. So if you didn't get enough of me tonight, check in with me tomorrow morning. We'll see how I'm doing by then. It'll be a good conversation, always is, as we explore the science of mind, philosophy, and the works of Dr. Ernest Holmes. Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. here on the New Thought Media Network. Join us for that tomorrow. I'm Dr. Robert. I'm getting out of here for now. I love you. I think you're amazing. I so look forward to what we're creating together, and I'm so looking forward to how Spirit chooses to reveal itself most specifically as you. Until next time, I wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.